Alhamdulillah nahmaduhu wa nasta'inuhu wa nastaghfiruhu wa nu'minu bihi wa natawakkalu alayh wa na'udzu billahi min shururi anfusina wa min sayyiati a'malina may yahdihillahu fala mudilla lahu wa may yudlilhu fala hadiya lahu asyhadu an la ilaha illallah wa asyhadu anna muhammadan abduhu wa rasuluh sallallahu alaihi wasallam tabaraka wa sallama tasliman kasira amma ba'd. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Wa man ahsanu qawlan mimman da'a ila Allah wa amila salihan wa qala innani minal muslimin. My dear brothers and respected elders and respected sisters, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has given us the name Muslim. Allah has given us the name Muslim. And what Muslim means? Muslim means person who willingly devote his entire desire to the desire of Allah, or completely submitting his desire or her desire to the desire of Allah. In other words, in complete submission to the obedience of the orders of Allah, in the way of Muhammad SAW, with the intention to please Allah until Allah is pleased with her or with him. So Allah says, وَقَالَ إِنَّنِي مِنَ الْمُسْلِمِينَ. When can we become Muslim? When we attain the level of Iman or faith towards Allah, which will enable us to completely submit our entire desire to the desire of Allah. In order to be able to attain that level of Iman, of faith, Allah has given us a work. وَمَنْ أَحْسَنُ قَوْلًا مِمَّنْ دَعَا إِلَى اللَّهِ. Whose words are better than the words of those who call people to Allah. The work which Allah has given to us in order to enable us to attain that level of Iman or that level of faith towards Allah, which will enable us to completely submit our desire to the desire of Allah, is the work of inviting people to Allah. Listen to me. This is a tafseer of this ayat, which I almost every day reciting this ayat to all of you in the entire world, because it is a very important ayat. All the Quran is very, very important ayat, but to me, this is the most important ayat to be recited daily, to be reminded daily to all the entire mankind. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has given the name Muslim today. That, in other words, oh man, you have to become Muslim. Your name is Muslim, and your work as a Muslim is to call people to Allah. If you want to become Muslim, you have to do the work. Your work will determine your speeches. In somehow or other, you'll be influenced. Your speeches will be influenced by the work that you do. So the work of inviting people to Allah is the work which will enable you to speak frequently, to hear frequently the meanings of the great kalima, there is no God except Allah. Understand? And Muhammad is the messenger of God. And that is the work. And that work, Allah says, the words of that work, the words of which comply to that works, is, Allah says, there is no better words. In other words, there is no other better words than that words of inviting people to Allah. Inviting people either to recite the kalimah, La ilaha illallah Muhammad, or to remind the people who have recited the kalimah about the meaning of the kalimah. This is basically the work which I have been proposing, proposing to all of you to do. It's the work which Allah has mentioned in the Quran. The work which far and large has been forgotten by the entire Muslim. The whole world since, we can't determine the day, since Adam, I think, except the prophets of Allah, the followers of the Prophet ﷺ since Adam's time has not been doing this work. Even the followers of Muhammad ﷺ, the most noble prophets of Allah, their followers had failed to understand that the work of the prophets is also their work. They were thinking that this is the work of only the prophets. They have died, so we only perform prayer and the rest of the orders of Allah, but not that order which has been done by the prophets. So they were having the understanding that this work of inviting people is only the works of the Prophet ﷺ. The son of Adam think that this work is only the work of my father. He is the Prophet of Allah. It's no longer become our work once he has passed away from this world. So we will do other works, other orders of Allah. But as a result of that negligence, mankind has suffered great degradations, has suffered great turmoil, because once they don't do the work of inviting people to Allah as their main work, they are unable to acquire that level of iman, level of faith towards Allah, which will make them to completely submit to the will of Allah, which will make them to become the Muslim. So a Muslim is a person who have a true faith in Allah and who have good deeds, or amal salih. So whoever has the true iman in Allah, true faith towards Allah, will have good deeds. So those who have true faith and good deeds, they are called the true believers with the good deeds. And these people are known as Muslim. So we have acquired the name Muslim without doing the work. Generally we call Muslim is only people who have recited the kalima, no matter whether they do the work or they do not do the work of inviting people to Allah. Basically, a whole Muslim, the whole world are not doing that work, and yet they call themselves Muslim. وَقَالَ إِنَّنِي مِنَ الْمُسْلِمِينَ, only mentioned by Allah once you have true faith in Allah and good faith. وَمَنْ أَحْسَنُ قَوْلًا مِمَّنْ دَعَا إِلَى اللَّهِ وَعَمِلَ صَالِحًا وَقَالَ إِنَّنِي مِنَ الْمُسْلِمِينَ. So the words Muslim only refer to those who have a true faith in Allah and a good deeds, or amal salih. In order for you to be able to become a person who have a true faith in Allah, or the true faith towards Allah and good deeds, you have to do the work which contains the work which are associated with the good works, the good words which Allah says, whose words are better than the words of inviting people to Allah. So this is a very great work. The work of inviting people to Allah is the work of all the prophets of Allah. And it's not only the work of all the prophets of Allah, it is also the work which Allah has prescribed, has given to those who have followed the prophets of Allah. So once they don't do the work of inviting people to Allah, they are not becoming the followers of the prophets. Because Allah says, Kul hazihi sabili ad'u ila Allah ala basiratin ana wa man ittaba'ani. In this verse of the Quran, Allah SWT tell Prophet Muhammad SAW, Kul, tell to the entire mankind, tell to your followers, and this is my path, this is my work, or this is my lifestyle, to call people to Allah, and to call people with basira, with firm belief in whatever I call. the firm belief that what I've called is the truth. Basira. Ana, and this is my path. Ana wa man ittaba'ani, and those who follow me. This verse of the Quran clearly elucidated, clearly confirmed the fact that the work of prophets is also the work of his followers. It's one sentence only in the whole Quran. No other mention in any other part of the Quran except this verse. But that is enough. You don't wait to have so many. When the Prophet said, "This is my path," Allah ordered the Prophet to say, "This is my path, and this is the path of those who follow me." Only one ayat. And do you think that all other prophets will not mention the same as what Allah has told to Muhammad sallam? No, the same thing which has told to Muhammad sallam, he had told to other prophets of Allah too. So the works of the prophets, the words of inviting Allah is not the work of only the prophet. The work of the prophets and those who follow them. But what happened? We don't understand this. Or we simply do not want to understand it. Our so-called scholars from days of Adam till Muhammad SAW are unwilling to go deeper to this verse of the Quran, to interpret it, to explain it, to propagate it, to invite the people to do the work, because they themselves are not willing to do. In other words, they themselves do not understand this ayat. The whole scholars, the so-called ulama in the whole entire world since the time of Adam. I'm not exaggerating, but the proof that shows they don't understand, because the works has never existed, has never been practiced by the other than the prophets. So what does it mean? It means they don't understand, or they simply unable to understand it. For reason, because they don't have the iman or the faith towards Allah, which enable them to understand this very simple verse of the Quran. This is my path and the path of those who follow me. Many Muslims say we must follow a path of Muhammad Sallam, and to them is what? Making zikr with groups. They call tariqat. They understand the tariqat of Muhammad Sallam is the tariqat of making zikr, and they interpret it even further to have a leader that will lead them to making the acts of zikr. La ilaha illallah, la ilaha illallah, or illallah, illallah. So they call it sheikh. And this sheikh has lineage until Muhammad SAW. And this all cracks and lies has perpetuated in the whole entire Muslim community, that give rise to so many kinds of tariqat, known as Naqshbandiya, Ahmadiyya, Chishtiya and all. I do not know. So all of them have a leader, Sheikh, which lead to Muhammad Sallam, they say. They were saying, but accepted as truth, that Muhammad Sallam used to do that with all the companions. They will group in certain place in the house, not even in the mosque, because all these groups are not doing it in the mosque. They are doing it in some house, and they all zikr, collectively, even to the extent that go into trance. They have forgotten themselves. They are so heavy, so engrossed in their acts of zikr, then they become somehow, not thinking they are in this world. Someone is making zikr until they fall from the place where they are making zikr to the ground. And they say the more trance that you'll be able to achieve, the more proper you're doing the zikr. Illallah, illallah, illallah. This is what they understand. This is not what it means by that ayat. That ayat clearly mentioned, tell, this is my path, this is my tariqat. To call people to Allah. How can they understand it by illallah, illallah, illallah? This is wrong interpretation. If ever they know this ayat. I think they don't know this ayat. Because even they know Arabic, they're so-called scholars, but I cannot imagine why they don't understand. It is not, ayat of mutashabihat. You know what ayat of mutashabihat? Ayat which people don't know the name, like Alif Lam Mim, Ta Sin Mim. Nobody knows. This ayat mutashabihat. But this is not ayat of mutashabihat. It's very clear. I think the Muslims simply, those who have recited the kalima or those who are so-called scholars, simply do not want to understand this ayat. Because they do not want to obey the order of inviting people to Allah. So, whole world is in darkness. Whole world is infested with evil deeds. Whole worlds are infested with calamities, with sorrow, with drunkenness in the evil deeds. So, nobody seems to bother. Everybody is only complaining and telling, oh, what a evil world that we are living. Oh, how evils are this world. Everybody is giving lectures saying, oh, there's so many people who are not praying, there's so many people who are not obeying the orders of Allah. Either the old or the young, the woman or the man, the one who live in the city or in the villages are all disobedient to the orders of Allah. But none able to understand the reason as to why. The reason as to why the whole worlds are filled with evil people. Everyone who are complaining, saying, I'm a good man, but others are evil person. I'm good man, but others are evil person. So everybody is thinking they are good, others are evil. Nobody understands that almost everybody are doing evil deeds. The most evil deeds they are doing is they do not do the work that will enable them to attain the iman, to attain the faith towards Allah, which qualify them to be known as Muslims. So we are all call ourselves Muslim, but in reality we are not. We are evil people. Why we become evil people? The first order of Allah, after reciting the kalima, we have disobeyed it. We simply, happily, joyfully ignoring that order. You ask any Muslim, either they know or not, the first order of Allah after reciting the kalima is the work of calling people to Allah, the work of calling people to good, forbidding people from evil. They don't know until today, unless they listen to my lecture and they read my tafseer of my Quran. Otherwise, they don't understand. There's not even a single book or single kitab in the whole world until today. We are told, oh, there's nobody who have given lectures in the whole world until today, saying that after reciting the kalima, you have to fulfill its rights. Anybody other than me? Then that means nobody have understood it until today. That's why they don't do it. That's why there is no good deeds. There are no Muslims. There is no Muslim. Because the work that will enable them to become Muslim, they have neglected it to the fullest. They never want to do that work. Unwilling. Either they are known as scholars or commoners. Either they are scholars or commoners. They don't. Yeah? How tough it is to make this work to become alive. Only Allah can do it. I can't do it, but I'm only the means. These are the great error, the great mistake which has been committed by the entire Muslim, the so-called people who have recited the kalima since the day of Adam, and Eve, until today. So only this mistake we have to correct. Only these actions which we have to renew its practice. Only these actions that we have to make every so-called people who are Muslim or those who have recited kalima to do. Please help to purchase this work. Please help to propagate this work. Invite those who are around you who have recited the kalima to do this work. Either they are your wife, or they are your husband, or your children, or your friends. Tell them, convey to them that the work that we have to do to become a Muslim is the work of inviting people to Allah. Our name which Allah has given to us is Muslim, no other name. Behind the name, there is a work. You can't call only a name. For example, what are you? I'm a professor. You don't call yourself professor if you are not a lecturer in the university. If you are only teacher in the school, you say, who are you? A professor. No, you are a teacher. You are a doctor. Some people, they sing songs. They call themselves doctor. But big D, small d, and R, big R, Dr. Sam. He's not a doctor. He's a singer. He's a bunkers. What called? Busking. He learned it while he studied in England. His father, a rich son of rich man, sent him to study in England. He ended up become buskers. Then he come home to Malaysia, call himself doctor. D, small d, R. Not his work is not doctor. His work is singer. So he shouldn't. Even though he used the word small d and R, but still people call Dr. Sam. Some people may, understand, may thought that he is a doctor who treats patients. But not a singer, so you should not call yourself a doctor when you are not doing the work of a doctor. Well, behind the work of engineering work, behind the work of behind the name of anything, there is a work. Understand? So behind the words of Muslim, behind the words of Muslim, there is the work. What's the work of a Muslim, which we don't do now? We call ourselves Muslim. Why are we not doing the work? We are only false Muslim, understand? When we don't do the work, we are only false Muslim. Why are you Muslim? Why are you Muslim? This Muslim country. This is a Muslim association of this. The Muslim association of this and this. We are false Muslim. We are not the true Muslim which Allah has mentioned in the Quran. We call ourselves Muslim, but we don't do the work. Hello. We call ourselves Muslim, but we don't do the work. We don't have that level of Iman, level of faith towards Allah, which make us to be able to completely submit to the desire of Allah, which enable us to call ourselves a Muslim. When a person who have recited the kalima is a person who are known as a person who have entered Islam, not a Muslim. Once you have recited the kalima and you do the work of inviting people to Allah, or mentioned also in the Quran as the work of inviting people to good, forbidding people from evil. Then you will attain the level of Iman. Provided you do that work in the way Muhammad SAW with the intention to please Allah until Allah is pleased with you. And when you have the level of Iman, to the level which Allah is pleased, which will make your deeds to become good deeds, then you say, وَقَالَ إِنَّنِي مِنَ الْمُسْلِمِينَ, I'm a Muslim. Why we call ourselves Muslim and we're not doing the work? It's a shame upon us to ignore the work which will lead us to have the name of a Muslim. You know, are you not eager to become a Muslim, or you want to become kafir? The opposite of Muslim is kafir. Worse, infidels. Kafir is those who don't, non-Muslim or what, those who do not recite the kalima. Once they become the enemies to the Muslims, they become infidels or kafir. Then they become our enemies and the enemies of Allah. But why they become our enemies? Because they are fighting against the people who are inviting them to recite the kalima. Those non-Muslim who fight against those who have invited them to recite the great kalima, they are called infidels or kafir. And we shouldn't make them our companions. We shouldn't make them as our bosom friend. We shouldn't make them as our companion or advisor. Understand? Let's mention the Quran. Only to these people is incumbent upon us, obligatory to wage war against them, because they are waging war against us. For very reason, we inviting them to recite the Quran. These are the people who are known as spreading corruption on this earth. They are known as the people who are spreading corruption. Who are the people spreading corruption? Those who even wanting to kill, those who inviting them to recite the Quran. And these are the enemies of Allah, the enemies of Prophet, and our enemies. And to wage war against them is obligatory. And to die on that war is called shuhada. But now Muslims don't even understand. Who are non-Muslim, who are infidels, who are the enemies. Simply, they say all the non-Muslim are our enemies. They don't understand, and then they start to wage war. But actually the war which are taking place is, probably we can call it war which are taking place are war of trying to to eliminate injustices. For example, the war between the Palestinians and the Jews it's not jihad. The Jews, in present day Jews, they are not called the enemies of Allah or the enemies of a Muslim or the enemies of, because we have not inviting them to recite the kalima, and they don't fight us because we are inviting them to kalima. They fight us because they want more lands. And so that's not called jihad. It shouldn't be called jihad, and shouldn't be made the fatwa by the scholars, the so-called scholars of Islam, as jihad. But they call it jihad. And they say you died in this war, will become shuhada. No. Is anybody died in the war between Israel and Palestine? The corpse you don't need to take bus. And is that happen now? Why you still take bus? Giving bus to the disease? I mean, it's not jihad. If it's jihad, you don't have to ask them to bus, to base the one who have died. Just bury them, like the past people of Malaysia, Mamali, and they don't give bus, isn't it? They just simply throw it like kata, like frogs. They should have given bus to them, just Mamali, because they are not shuhada. They call it shuhada. Shuhada is those who died in the war against the people who fight them, who fight us, The reason is only because we invite them to Allah. Where is the work of inviting people to Allah? Is the Palestinian inviting the Jews to Allah? Are they calling and visiting them with friendly and cordial faces, telling them with love and affection to believe in Allah? The Jews already believe in Allah and believe in Muhammad SAW. Believe in Allah. They don't do that work, and then they got war. That war cannot be called jihad. It's a war against injustices. The one who are doing injustices are probably the Jews, because they've been brought to that land, they've been given certain part of the land by the British, and then they want more lands. They have war, they have to return back that land. In 1967, they have to return it to Palestine. That's about all. Then we come to term, because at that time, British was in control of that area, so they have given it to the Jews. It's their right. So that's all. That land which was given by the Jews should be made to be the Jewish state. They cannot, embark on taking more lands by having wars, because the world has an order. No lands in other part of the world which you have invaded and then become yours. You can never do it now, unless decided by the United Nations, or decided by the court, International Court of Justice. The Jews can bring the one that they have acquired, the West Bank, in the war 1967, to the Court of Justice in Holland, I think. Then tell them, this is our land. See what they do. But the whole international community have regarded that lands to be not belong to the Jews, the Israelis. It should be given to Palestine. You just do that, the Palestine will be happy. Then that becomes the Palestine state, and you can have two states. Why? Why you cannot have two states? The recent, the Prime Minister of Israel, that going to replace Atantuya, was thinking that to give that land is a great disadvantage to Israel. It will cause great harm. This is a wrong belief. And this belief will perpetuate wars and more aggressions on either parts of Israel or Palestine. So there is no peace because of wrong understanding. The Jews on the one part is so thirsty of lands and wealth and money and power. You cannot acquire people lands simply by attacking them. And then you say, I'm not going to leave this land, this ours. No, it cannot be done now. It can be done in barbaric times. During barbaric times, you can do it. You conquer and then you acquire the land, become this mine. You can't do that now. See, you have to return back. You are not living in a barbaric time, my dear. You should know that we have now laws and orders. You have to bring the case to the International Court of Justice. You don't go with war. Why should go with war? You will never finish. You will never solve your problem. Go to the International Court of Justice, both parties, Israel and Palestine. Bring your case. Stop the war. The war doesn't bring any solution. It doesn't bring any good to Israel, neither to Israel nor to the Palestine. The simple way on how to solve this problem has been jeopardized. The Muslim on the other side says this is jihad. It's not jihad. It's a war of injustices. It shouldn't be settled by war. It should be settled by court. We have the International Court of Justice. Why none is bringing it? Why the Palestinians are not bringing it? Bring your case to the International Court of Justice and debates and see what the decision will be. If the International Court of Justice is the right of Israel to take it, well, do it. If it's not, then release it, and the whole war will finish. Nobody is, now we can hear day, night, bombing, killing. So many people died with no purpose. Children, women. What is the gain of all this? Nothing is gained except miseries and calamities. Why we don't stop this? Because we misunderstood everything. The Israel on one hand is having desires to acquire lands. So this is injustices, taking other people's land by killing them, fighting. You shouldn't use the war in 1907 as a means for you to acquire lands. That is wrong. It's a war, and after that you settle back, go back to your territory, go back to your country. Why you make this as your land? You build such settlement, you build houses, you ask other Jews to come. This is fraud. This is trying to lie, to deceive the world that you are kind, you are good people. No, you are portraying yourself to the entire world that you are devils, who are thirsty of wealth and power. And it's known in the Quran. The people who love the world the most is the Jews. Stop this. Bring this case to the International Court of Justice and see what's the solution. What is the solution? What is the results of that court case? Like Malaysia, we have island of Batu Putih. Singapore won it. Malaysia won it. It actually belongs to Malaysia, but Malaysia has not been taking care of that land, of that island, small island. What's it called? Batu. That island. Then it brought to the International Court of Justice, and the court says it belongs to Singapore. Singapore is taking it. There's no war. Another one is Sipadan, Indonesia and Malaysia. The Malaysia been taking care of that island, Sipadan and all this. Indonesia are not taking care of it. Then they bring to the court. Then the International Court of Justice says this belongs to Malaysia. There's no war. Why the same thing can be done to Palestine and Israel? Simply, you are not sure what to do. This World International Court of Justice in Netherlands is there. Why we shouldn't use that means to solve our injustices problem? If Palestinians believe that the Jews are doing injustice, Israel are doing injustice, bring your case to the court. Don't fight. Don't show yourself they are more Islam than other people of the Muslim, the whole world. You are not a true, real, good Muslim. A Muslim is a people who settle things with love, affection, unless they kill you because you invite them to Allah. If they kill you, you invite them to Allah, then they become not only your enemies, the enemies of Allah, the enemies of Rasul. Then it's obligatory for you to fight against them. Have you invited the Jews to recite the Kalimah? No. Have you invited them to believe in Muhammad as a prophet? No. Then why should you fight them? You shouldn't fight them. We are only allowed to kill people who kill us, who declare war against us only because one purpose, one reason. We invite them to Allah. This understanding is unknown to the Muslim, the whole world. As a result, they become terrorists. They become people who don't understand what is right, what is not right. As a result of that, they are not Muslim. They are only people who have entered Islam. They are only causing chaos and terror in the whole world. So our work is a work of Muslim, to call people with love and affection to Allah. And this should be the work of the whole Muslim, the whole world from today. Okay.